Good evening, America. I'm Jason, and you are watching Jason Goes Political. Please let me know if you can hear me, and the microphone is the right microphone, and it's working properly. Oh, I can hear myself, so I was trying to do tests before then. Everything's okay, but I do have to go pick a family member up. So how do you like the studio, everyone? I hope that you enjoy, and looks like entropy is up. You may financially gift there or ask questions for the little bit of time that we are here together. You may also financially gift, ask questions over on Odyssey. Great to see everybody over there. Please let everybody know we're starting 20 minutes early. And of course, Cash App, which we have over here to my right, your left. And great to see everybody. We're going to jump right into this, the very first story that we have here. U.S. lawmen now lawless. Surprise, the Joe Biden Justice Department, led by Attorney General Merrick Garland, will not be prosecuting lawbreakers within its ranks. The Inspector General for the Department of Justice released its semi-annual report to Congress of cases for which the IG recommends prosecutions. But in case after case, the DOJ is declining to prosecute its own. The one notable exception is Bureau of Prisons, BOP personnel, who still have reason to fear repercussions if they break the law, supposedly. And this is coming to you from Fox News, I think is what this is. And there's a lot of ramifications for us in this story, in this news of what's taking place, in this way that Democrats in particular, but of course all anti-whites, in the way they all behave when it comes to corruption, when it comes to breaking the law to achieve their objectives. There's a lot here to chew on, and perhaps we will have to revisit it. But I did want to just come on with you all, even if only for a little bit, so that we could check this out. Unfortunately, I'm not, without responsibility and need. Love the studio, Nancy. Need to be, I guess, counted on at times. So, Fernell says it looks great. God bless you. Thank you, brother. But if you are in the FBI or DEA, you can be virtually assured you will not be prosecuted based on the long list of cases DOJ has declined to prosecute. Apparently, if you work for the right agency, anything goes. And apparently, if you're serving the agenda of the Democrat Party, let's get a big round of raucous emojis really quickly together in 07s for Null, who designed this wonderful studio. And everything is up and running because of his genius and then me carrying out his genius. So God bless you, brother. Just how serious are the allegations of lawbreaking? Here are a few examples from Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report. Quote, while working for the FBI overseas, multiple then FBI officials solicited, engaged in, and or procured commercial sex. So prostitutes, you all probably remember that story. It was also alleged that one of the FBI officials provided another official a package containing approximately 100 white pills to deliver to a foreign law enforcement officer. The investigation was presented for prosecution on August 17, 2018, and declined on January 17. So you see here, these are, as long as you create environments, these petri dishes of evil, of immorality, and all of it being destroyed. This is very important for people of all races, because all of this, the justice system, etc., is being destroyed under the banner of anti-whitism. That is the excuse that all of this has to be destroyed. That is the excuse that all of these norms that in one breath, a Democrat will tell you white people don't have a culture. And in the next breath, they'll tell you, well, there are all of these cultural things, these norms that we have to get rid of. Truth and justice being one of them. That's something old fashioned. That's something in the way. That's something undermining what they would like to do with Western civilization, which of course is remaking it in their image, not even just the inverse, but the absolute expunging of all that we create and project, and therefore all that we are. After receiving information from FBI alleging that a then supervisory special agent may have committed time and attendance fraud, so there's another one there, a then senior official with the DEA gave preferential treatment to a particular pharmaceutical company by prioritizing the company's request for drug quota increases over other pending requests. The allegation further stated that the pharmaceutical company's request to the DEA had been made by a former DEA official then employed by the pharmaceutical company. Keep in mind, these are big-time crimes that these individuals they have been submitted for prosecution and should spend forever in jail. Nothing is happening to them. And you've seen this level of corruption. We've seen it for our entire lives. We've seen, in particular, both parties, regrettably, the Republicans, but both parties have engaged in this, especially the Democrats. There have been individuals in the Republican Party, as we've seen, but almost all of the time it is Democrats who are allowed to do able to do whatever they want. And then their cronies, their other anti-white fellow travelers, and of course the mercenaries now that fill the ranks in the federal government, they just overlook all of these crimes. As long as you are engaged in something anti-white, in your objective, you're striving for what is anti-white. You want to destroy Western civilization. You want to take people's right to self-defense away. You want to take people's freedom of association away. You want to take people's want to take their right to a legitimate and speedy trial. You want to take these sorts of things away? Perfect. Then you can do whatever you want in America. You can do whatever you want. Given the lack of accountability with federal law enforcement, it's no wonder federal agents are willing to misuse their authority. This may also explain why DOJ has a deepening problem with public perception and low morale. There are many committed professionals at the 110-person agency, but when those who cut corners are, and this is something else they do, you see Fox is doing it here, they make these statements that are absolutely effete. They never work. They say, well, this agency, like for example, they'll take the corrupt FBI and they'll say, well, it's just stock full of so many magnificent human beings. And you might have one here or one there that is a bad apple, and they're just ruining it for the West. And then what ends up happening? The Republicans have been saying that sort of thing for decade after decade after decade, and yet you still see the FBI swing into action every time they're needed by Democrats to do whatever they need them to do, to Republican voters, to intimidate, to et cetera, to parents who object to anti-white policies pushed by Democrats. You still see the FBI happily, gladly swing into work the moment other Democrats and other anti-whites tell them, you have to go out there and crush these people, crush those parents, crush. And you all have seen this just recently. The news came out about how there was this collaboration between the White House and this person on a student, some sort of like a parent-teacher association, was it, or something of this nature? And no, I think it was a teachers union maybe. And they were complaining about this president or whoever it was at the union was saying, well, it's terrible that these parents are objecting to what we want to teach their children. I have a remedy for that, ladies and gentlemen. And it was suggested in one of my threads. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I will just go ahead and share it now. And that is, if I were in office, I would put forward legislation that would require, as federal law, that microphones be placed in every single classroom in the United States. Every single classroom in the United States, so that not only the parents of the kids in there, but concerned adults, concerned patriotic Americans could listen to the kinds of things that were being said. Because I promise you this, if teachers knew, if these Democrat anti-white teachers knew that parents across the country could be tapping into that microphone in their room and listening to the kinds of things, the kinds of anti-American, anti-white things that they were teaching those kids in those rooms, they would think twice about saying those things. There would be some concern. Institutions would crop up listening to what's being said in American classrooms. Patriotic groups would immediately spring into being, and they would begin listening, and they would begin pointing out not only the district or the county or the city and state where it's taking place and where it's worse, but also the teachers' names, the people who are behind it. They have no right to anonymity about the evil they teach, the anti-white, un-American things they teach, especially white American children. They have no right to being anonymous when they teach that filth. Everyone should know what they're teaching the children in this country. When they're teaching children to hate this country, when they're teaching children that the country is founded in evil, and therefore, just like the white race, it can only be remedied when it's totally remade. And when you remake something, it doesn't exist anymore, just like they would like to do with Western kind. When you remake America, it doesn't exist anymore. When they want to have those lectures with students, I would like to have many thousands of parents and concerned adults, whether they have kids or not, maybe their grandparents, listening in and finding out exactly who it is, where it is, when it is, and then what can be done about it. If I were in office, there would be a bill to put a microphone in every single classroom in the United States. Not one allowed, not one. Don't even come to me about your Muslim or your synagogue or whatever. It's a private school and you can't have it. Bullshit. You're going to be teaching those kids in the United States. We want to know if you're teaching them to hate the white race. We want to know if you're teaching them to hate Republican form of government. We want to know if you're teaching them to hate the way the country was founded. We want to know if you're teaching them to despise the founding fathers of this country. You want to teach at all? You're going to have a microphone attached to loudspeakers that speak to the totality, East Coast, North, South of this. And let me tell you what, especially when you get to bad-mouthing white males, every white male, especially the ones in their teens, their 20s, their 30s, the ones who still have quite a bit of life ahead of them, they need to know that what you're saying about them, what awful things you're saying about them, so that when they get in positions of power and as they mobilize to achieve power, it will be to your detriment. No more of this educating in secrecy. We saw what happened with COVID. Parents were absolutely silent on what was taking place in the United States about the things that were being taught. And then kids got sent home. Some parents, not all, just some, got an earful of the kind of things, walking in on the teacher saying, what did they just say? And now you have parents resisting, because it's not even about pushing back against something as big as what these anti-white bastards are up to. Hating America, hate the white race, hate the founding of the country, hate everything that's Western on planet Earth. It's not even things that are just that big. Smaller things, much smaller, are pissing parents off of all races, particularly of white, because we're always the targets in the West. And they moved on that alone. So we're going to shove these microphones so far where the sun don't shine that their proctologist isn't going to be able to remove it. Given the lack of accountability within federal law enforcement, it's no wonder federal agents are willing to misuse their authority. No shit. This may also help explain why DOJ has a deepening problem with public perception and low morale. So, yeah, all of that praise that Republicans heap on, it's sickening. It's this paternalistic nonsense. These absolute villains are creating fake documents. They're all the time. They're up to this. They're caught all the time. Of course, check with CNN and MSNBC, because our friends at YouTube will want to know whether or not CNN or MSNBC are saying the same things. And of course, I get all of my news for my personal life from CNN. Beyond the OIG report, we have another reprehensible example of DOJ's failure to self-police in the case of USA gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. Is he Arab? Isn't that an Arab surname? Whose pattern of abusing patients, and his Arabness has nothing to do with him being a rapist. I'm just wondering how these people who are Democrats, anti-white, and was he born in the country? I don't know much about him. Somebody should fill me in. CNN, turn it on. Whose pattern of abusing patients was allowed to continue unchecked thanks to FBI malfeasance. Malfeasance, if you don't know, it's just corruption by a person in office or person appointed or elected to office. The original IG report on this case documented a pattern by Nassar of widespread sexual, quote, widespread sexual assaults of over 100 victims. This anti-white piece of shit was sexually assaulting over 100 people. And the FBI said, he's a good Democrat. He's anti-white like us. Well, you can go free then, buddy. No prosecution for you. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to get to the real point of this in just a moment. And regrettably, we're not going to be able to be together a whole lot longer than that. But we'll be back. We'll be back certainly next Tuesday. And we will be bringing the fire, metaphorical fire, to the Democrats and all things anti-white. Nassar's possession of child pornography led to convictions in both federal and state court and resulted in jail sentences totaling. And so this is FBI refusing to prosecute. But this guy's got child pornography, and it has to happen outside of the FBI. What does that tell you about that institution? So he was sentenced for the rest of his life outside of the FBI. The report concluded that the Indianapolis SSA ultimately drafted an interview summary 17 months after the interview of Gymnast 1 that contained material false statements and omitted material information, close quote. Tragically, the mishandling of this case by the FBI, the mishandling, they just had a couple of missteps, a couple of mistakes. And so therefore the guy who raped 100, the sexual predator, whatever his whatever it rose to, sexual assaults, whatever it rose to. Boy, I guess he just gets to go free. But rest assured, you have even the slightest infraction, especially somebody who is white sympathetic, and they will find your ass and put you away for eternity. They will come through the windows of your house with their machine guns drawn. They will batter your door down. There is no law in the United States of America, my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, tragically. So that's what you have. According to civil court documents, approximately 70 or more young athletes were sexually abused by Nassar under the guise of medical treatment between July. I know you have a headache, honey, but that's where you fix it. There's a pressure point between your legs, said Nassar. Maybe. July 2015, when a USA gymnast first reported allegations about Nassar to the Indianapolis field office. So it makes you wonder, how many times did this guy, how many crimes, how many lives did he ruin? How many lives did he alter and was able to get away with it because he's anti-white, because he's a Democrat? The failure speaks volumes. Hundreds of victims, a predator allowed to continue to prey upon young girls because of the FBI, but no one will be held accountable. Even worse, they just have to retire and they can count on full taxpayer-funded benefits for the rest of their lives. How do you like that, folks? DOJ officials should be held to a higher standard than of course they should be. Fauci and whoever their names are, they should be held to higher standards because you have the public trust than just your average person. But instead of being held to higher standards, the standards are wiped away. They can do whatever they want, and the whole world knows it. The whole world sees it, and then we all are forced because they carry the guns, they have the badges, they can put you in jail. We're all forced to go, yeah, it's total, we have law and order here. Yeah, you're doing right by the populace. Yeah, that guy should have that woman should have been able to do whatever she wanted. Yeah, responsible for how many deaths? That's fine. They should have been able to do that as well. Sexual assaults in the hundreds? Fine, they should be able to. Why? Because the people with the guns and the badges are the ones telling you, this is the way it is. Shut up. DOJ officials should be held to a higher standard. We might even settle for just holding them to the same standard as the rest of us. But this unwillingness to hold their own accountable undermines faith in federal law enforcement and signals a tolerance of misbehavior, a tolerance and endorsement of misbehavior. 6 months from now, we will read about a similar report. Something needs to change, but clearly President Biden, you mean that dopey old fool in the White House? Hardly a president. I know he has the title. President of what? President of his daycare where they feed him baby sauce? And his Democrat majorities have little interest in reining in federal law. They not only have little, they profit, they benefit by FBI and Homeland Security and all of these other places that they have ultimately, Democrats, anti-whites of every stripe, captured and use because they dominate these places to their benefit. Use to their benefit. If you have any financial gifts, I'm going to be getting out of here within 10 minutes. You got to make them happen. I'm going to hit the most important points about this story, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. So this is a quick one. I hope more people will watch it as a consequence. First thing I want to point out is anti-whitism, and folks out there who vote Republican. I need you to hear this. Anti-whiteism is the ideology that is destroying Western civilization. It is the banner of anti-whiteism. And people of all race I'm talking to, whoever votes Republican, it is the banner of anti-whiteism that is used to destroy all of these institutions in America. So if you like law and order, if you like justice, that's going to be taken from you, whether you're white or not, because it's destroyed under the banner of anti-whiteism. White people made this, so it has to be destroyed. The solution to that is not what these conservative content creators and so-called thinkers, actual jackasses, it's not what they think the solution is. You don't disavow as if you're white, what we created. You don't claim that white people didn't create it if you're non-white, in the hope that these Democrats, these anti-whites, won't come to the conclusion, well, oh, really? They think that white people didn't create this, and so we'll leave it alone. That is pure stupidity. It is unparalleled in human history. The hyperbole is worth it. Everything you love and care about, white or non-white, in the West, you're a good patriotic American. Everything you know and love and care about this country is going to be taken away with the excuse of white people created it, built it, originated it, or had large part in it, and therefore it's got to be changed. And what kind of change do we see? Anti-whitism causes rampant corruption that is skyrocketing. It is skyrocketing as a consequence of the growing power of Democrats, anti-whites, and the widespread acceptance of anti-whitism as the norm of America. This is the norm now. The norm now is that everybody's going to be anti-white. Everybody's going to function by the anti-white morality. White people are bad. Everything that whites touched has to be changed and remade. I was at the gym today, and I really got to go in moments here, folks. I was at the gym today. I was looking up. They had televisions. You've seen them probably where you have gyms. They have televisions hanging from the ceiling. There were 5 different channels on like 15, 20 televisions. 5 different channels on 15 or 20 televisions. Every single one of those televisions had black people on them. And one of those televisions was all black professionals. This is anti-whitism. The black people aren't there because Democrats or anti-whites love black people. No, black people are just the ones they use when they replace white people. You have 12.5%, 13% of the population on every single TV. 5 different channels, all running at the same time. 15, 20 televisions. Every single one. And I'm not talking about it was just like some black person standing in the background on a commercial. These were the shows. These were the talking heads. And one of those channels, it was all black. It was 3 black professionals talking. Again, these people are not there because Democrats love black people. They hate black people. They implement policies that hurt black communities, and we all know it. It's not because they like black people. It's not because anti-whites like black people. It's just they want to hurt white people, and they grab black people to use as the replacement. Make no mistake, black people, they'll be replacing you soon enough with Mexicans, mestizos, Arabs, etc. When you have anti-whitism running rampant, and when you have the masses accepting it, when you have anti-whites in power, calling themselves Democrats, radical anti-whites, when you have them doing this, you have skyrocketing corruption. You all have seen it. I've seen it over the course of your lives. The corruption has been getting worse and worse and worse. Non-white Republican voter out there, do you want to live in a country? You want to live in America where corruption is worse even than the country you came from or your people came from? Is that the kind of country you want to live in? If you don't want to live in that country, then you better start speaking out against anti-whitism today, because that is the excuse. Anti-whites, Democrats, that's the excuse they use to create environments that breed corruption like flies to putrefaction. Next thing I want to talk about real quick, and we're going to be getting out of here, folks. Taking a look at my notes. Some of the things that are lost in this country, some of the things that are lost in the United States as a consequence of Democrat actions, these people motivated by the philosophy of anti-whitism, these Democrats and others, some of the things you've lost. Law and order. You think there's law and order in this country? You think there's justice in this country? Justice exists when it applies to everyone equally. Justice exists when it applies to everyone equally. It does not exist, not even a little bit, not it's kind of still there, when it doesn't apply to everyone equally. When FBI and Homeland Security and all these other groups can commit all of these crimes, and then they walk. and then they retire, and then they get promotions. This has been going on for many decades. When that happens, there's no justice. There's no law and order. What is there then? There's the semblance of law and order, the semblance of it, that is used as a cudgel, a hammer, for those who get in the way of Democrats, of anti-white ideology, and is used as an excuse to those who are the beneficiaries, those who commit what would have been crime in their work for Democrat anti-white objectives. They then say, well, the law says you could just do whatever you want. That is what we have in the United States today. No law and order whatsoever. So you have a problem. You think, well, justice, well, if I just don't break, you don't have to just not break the law. You get in the way, Republican voter. You get in the way of these Democrats. You get in the way of this government right now. And it doesn't matter how many just Republican politicians you send in there and then they send home. Because that Democrat anti-white system is, so you call it, you know what the deep state is? It is anti-whitism. That's the deep state. The deep state is anti-whitism. And the anti-whites that promulgate it and that maintain the continuity from presidency to presidency, senatorship to senatorship, it doesn't matter. You know where else justice dies? This idea of fair treatment, of equal treatment in the dealings of people in close personal environments, work, education, family, etc. Whether or not those things were in non-white countries without being introduced there by Westman is irrelevant, because in the United States, all of that is viewed as a consequence of white males. This whole idea of justice, there's no justice when there's justice as it's understood in all of these environments. So your life, Republican voter of any race, is going to be miserable at work, at school, etc., where people have come to learn that the Christian values, which, by the way, what we understand as Christian values is what white people have infused into the doctrine, the religion of Christianity. It is our biological moral ethos. And they're going to go out there and they're saying, and they've been saying for a long time, and it's becoming increasingly widespread, that this is a product of the white man. So when you out there, doesn't matter how, whatever color your ass might be, when you suffer the consequence of justice being removed, whether it's legal or otherwise, when you suffer that consequence, it's because of Democrats empowered by and motivated by the ideology of anti-whitism. So you want to put an end to it, you got to put an end to anti-whitism and the Democrats who are advancing it with the power that they wield in the United States. You know something else that goes away when Democrats get their way, motivated by anti-white ideology, anti-whitism? Accountability. There's no accountability in the United States anymore. And increasingly, people in places of work, at school, university, etc., all the way down even to elementary school, accountability is now a thing of the past. The white man, that's something the white man did. The only person who has to suffer accountability, whether he's responsible or not today, is the white man. And let me tell you what, a lot of white guys like me, young white guys, are really pissed off and sick and tired of putting up with this. And I think we're getting closer and closer. We gave a little bit of a preview with all of our coming out and voting for this businessman that then kind of didn't really go at this as hard as maybe he could or should have. Thought he could just make friends and shake hands. And afraid we need a statesman. We don't need any more businessmen. We need Andrew Jackson. And there's a lot of white men out there that have said enough is enough. And they're going to do this legally. But accountability, you're going to be out there, you're going to be Asian, you're going to be Arab, you're going to be mestizo, El Salvadorian, you're going to be Brazilian. You came to America, you did it legally or whatever it might be. You got a job, you got a family, you work. Now all of a sudden, what do you mean I can't hold this person accountable? He or she did X, Y, Z to my business. Well, I'm sorry, accountability is a thing of the past, buddy. That's how you end up suffering. You want to put an end to that? You're going to have to put down the Democrat power and the ideology that motivates them, anti-whitism. If the lawmen are lawless, what do you think the anti-white and mercenary lawmen will do with that power? You have only seen the beginnings, ladies and gentlemen. All the corruption you've seen over the course of your life, this is going to seem like the halcyon days of ancient America. Because as, let's just say, freshmen politicians that come in, new freshman politicians that come in, after wave of that, wave of employees that reach the shores, the demonic shores, the infernal shores of the FBI and Homeland Security. As each new wave reaches there, they will be saying, they got away with that, I can get away with this. Not only that, but they'll be self-selecting themselves as well as the Democrats, staunch Democrat voters and financiers that work in all of these institutions. They'll be making sure that those who want to abide by the law and those who are going to be whistleblowers, they don't make their way in. But also folks will be self-selecting themselves out of that shit. They'll show up. Guy from Kansas will show up and say, I want to do the right thing. I want to be a lawyer for the Justice Department. He's going to find out when he gets there that some of these people are into kiddie porn like this guy was, this trainer was. Some of these folks, this Democrat, anti-white, some of these folks are into other forms. Maybe they're getting hookers down in whatever country that was. Maybe some other form of cash for this, tit for that, some sort of illegality. And they're going to find out that, well, my God, everyone is like this. If I try to go be a whistleblower, they'll easily identify me, and they have no scruple whatsoever. They will say anything, even about a person in the office of president. What will they do to you as some junior attorney trying to make a name for himself? And then that guy is going to be out. Each new wave is going to be more corrupt than the last. If the lawmen are lawless, each new wave will be worse, much worse. And they used to always talk about the El Jefes in Mexico and how that could never happen in the United States. Bullshit. The El Jefes here are 800 pounds. They make those guys look like jokes down south of the border. Never rely, then, on the fiction of legality. For too long in this country, the fiction of legality. Well, we have the law to protect us. We have the law to stand up. We're not breaking the law. We just have to stay. No, you've got to go far further than that. You're not going to get a fair day in trial. You're not going to get a fair examination by detectives, by the FBI showing up at your house. Never talk to them yourself. Always talk through an attorney, by the way. The West is a lawless country, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to find out what you're saying, and I'm going to roll, see if anything was said. Looks like we're blank over there on Odyssey, so we didn't miss anybody. That's a good thing. We have No White Guilt Clips has come in with a $10 financial gift. God bless you, brother. We love you for all the work that you do, including these financial gifts. Thank you very much. He writes, awesome show. Thank you for that. Over here on Entropy, we have another true champion, and that is Yiz the Eunuch and Unifier. She's here with a $5 financial gift. God bless you, sister. Sick and still performing for white well-being and this country. And she says, I'm glad you're sharing your thoughts on politics. I hope you enjoy this kind of stream and keep it up. I will, sister, absolutely. We're going to be having a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to be every Tuesday at 7. Make sure you're here. If you have any suggestions, put them in the thread underneath of the video once it is up and processed, or I guess you can put comments in the thread even before it's processed. Go ahead and put your comments there. I want to know what you have to say. I want to know what you think about the studio. I want to know what you think about the lighting. I want to know what you think about the content. I want to know what you can think about who and how I can reach interviews that I could do, or people interviewing me about the news show. Anything that we can make happen to get this rolling and to get the message out to an increasing number of people, because time is running out and we really need to make it happen. It might still be a bit early here on the East Coast, but I want to say sleep well and good night, America.